All right, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at, whatever time zone you're in. We're going to talk about some pretty gnarly stuff here. I don't know how practical this is for your garage, maybe the 4000, but we're going to get into the big boys here. And I'm not even sure I can stock these things. Like this is the PB4000 and the Ultra, the 16 Ultra. The PB version, the ported version, but if you haven't watched the other videos in the SVS series, make sure to go check them out, where I talk about the PC series, which is I call it the trash can version, or the water heater version. We also did the smaller stuff, the 1000 versus 2000, and then the 2000 versus 3000, so go check out that stuff. I do have to make some videos on some of the wireless connectivity as well, and making sure, subwoofers, or you have the capability to put the subwoofer you want. These, I think, are much more home theater focused, which I'll be doing more home theater stuff as I continue to build out the Destination OG website, destinationog.com. And so I think these subwoofers apply more for really big garages. You're going to get considerably more output for a lot less money than like the fancy Dynaudio subwoofers that I'm using in the garage here. But I think they deserve some of my time and attention here, and I'll tell you what I know about them. There's hundreds of videos on these subwoofers all over the place online, so I'm just going to give you my take, having played with them for a while here. And also, I don't know that there are many reviewers that have bought every single SVS subwoofer, had them all in one place at one time, and so I may have a little bit of a unique take on which subwoofers I might recommend. So I wanted to give you some close-ups, give you some shots of how these things look. The 4000 and the 16 Ultra are pretty similar. The finish is different on them, but the menu system, the app is the same. The amplifier, the brick looks the same. I'm certain if we took the woofers, if we took the driver out, the driver would be very similar, just a different size, as the 16-inch versus the 13.5-inch. But the one thing to note, I mean, these both come in gloss or oak wood veneer, and so when you get into the 4000 line, is when you start to get a different finish. Instead of like a vinyl wrap, they call it an oak veneer. Now the Ultra has a completely different finish, a different looking grain than the 4000 does. I would highly encourage you, I'm going to make a video on care of piano black speakers, but I would highly recommend that you not, for anything ever, if you can help it, avoid buying gloss black speakers, because if you touch them, you breathe on them, they get marred, they get scratched, it's just problematic. And so they're shiny and nice. It's kind of like a black car, shiny and nice when it's clean, but that's for about 30 seconds until they turn dirty. I actually purposely left the PB4000, the ported version, dirty and dusty, so I'm going to make a video talking about how I would care for it if you did get piano black. You'll also notice that these things are all fingerprinted up, because this one here weighs 102 pounds and this is 125-ish pounds, and they have substantial weight to them, and so they're all fingered up from me trying to manhandle these things around. So when we get into this series of subwoofer, we also get different inputs on the amplifier, and I would recommend that you use this type of connection if you can help it, but you have a balanced connection, which is a 3-pin connection if you're not familiar. There's a separate pin that has to do with, I forget exactly how XLR works, but in general, I think that the basics of it is there's a timing element of the grounding pin that helps ensure that both positive and negative signals get to the connection at the same time. Again, I'm not an expert, you can look it up if you care, but it's a more solid connection as well than an RCA cable, because it clips in and snaps in place, and again, it's 3 pins, and this sort of circular type connection. You can see the push pin here, the release pin, whereas RCA is a tried and true older type of connection, but and I'm actually using RCA RCA here for now. But if you had a choice, you would want to run XLR cables. We have Metra in the store. Eventually we'll probably transition to doing, SVS has XLR cables as well, that we could use for the application of the subwoofer. You need an XLR out of your amplifier or your receiver, so that could be a problem. And if you convert RCA out of the back, like right now I'm converting RCA out of the back of my C658, if you convert it out the back then from RCA to XLR and run XLR, you don't really get the benefit of XLR anyway, so other than the more solid connection. So this sledge, this is a 1500 watt, so the Ultra is the one you're looking at here, has a 15 watt amplifier. The 4000, which is the 13.5-inch woofer, has a 1200 watt amplifier. I don't think the peaks really matter, so I think this one does like 3,000 peak and this one's 5,000 peak or something like that. You can go to our site or SVS's site and look at the specifics of it. But in my estimation or my recommendation, I just don't think that even for a home theater, unless you just have a giant dedicated room, I mean, the porteds are generally going to fill a room better and be more dynamic, and just have more, I guess not more dynamic, just I guess just more amplitude, the perceived amplitude of a ported subwoofer. But I think in most cases, most people, I think even SVS can talk to me about, they sell a substantial amount more on what the numbers are of the sealed enclosed subwoofers versus the ported stuff, even though the ported certainly has its place. So if I kick this 120-pound monster out of the way, I would be inclined, it has a metal grill, and SVS is genius about grills and their little rubber connection here, on how they work. They don't vibrate. I've never heard an SVS grill. You would think a metal grill would vibrate, but it doesn't have any kind of vibration, and that's due to the way the gasketing works, where the pin pushes in, and it's a nice snug tight fit, but there's enough play inside of here that you don't get any vibration. And so you have the sort of the carbon Kevlar looking design on the front, and you can even just beating on the subwoofer, super substantial surround, very old school car audio like, and once you get up to the 4000 line, you can tell there's a difference in the woofer that you have in a 4000 or an Ultra versus what's available on the the 3000s and below. So let's fire this puppy up. I'm running it at minus 15 dB right now with my setup. No Dirac tuning, no calibration. We'll leave the grill off just so you can see it. Let's fire it up and I'll give you my observations. I'm really interested, and I haven't done a lot of A/B comparison of 4000 versus Ultra, the 16 Ultra. So I'll give you my take after we kind of listen to some stuff. I have to listen to some copyright-free, goofy music, so this isn't like my choice. I'd rather be, playing some of my playlist stuff, but for our purposes here, we'll listen to the same song we'll listen to in the other videos. Now, these subwoofers, when I listened to the 1000, the 2000, I was listening to like some basics, Dynaudio Evokes and some basic PSBs, and I spent a little time with the Prime stuff. The Prime speakers in the garage aren't as practical. I think for home theater it makes more sense, but they're aluminum dome. They're just a little brighter speaker, the SVS stuff. They're regular, bookshelves and wireless speakers. They're a little brighter, and so I tend to want something really subdued. And so what we're actually going to be listening to here are the monsters. So when we're talking about, this is an $1,800 subwoofer, a $2,300, $2,300, $2,900. We're in that $2,000 plus range of subwoofer. I think you're going to have more, more substantial equipment. And so these are Dynaudio Core 59s that are, it's a Pascal Class D amplifier built in that's 500 watts per driver and 150 for the tweeter. So super, super high output, lots of power. And then I have a crazy, NAD C685 preamp, a really high quality preamp. And so then, these subwoofers come complement it a little bit more. So we're going to be listening to that as we kind of play with the stuff here. I talked about that this in the other videos, but if you can zoom in on this, Chris, here, if you can see that, this is the SVS app. I have it right on my home screen because I use it often. But the SVS app, the great thing about this is you'll notice when I switch from the 4000 to the 16 Ultra, bang, instantly connects so seamlessly. No goofy passwords or syncing issues or trying to get it to connect Bluetooth. You plug it in 5 seconds, as quick as you can open the app, the thing's connected. You know, I've had these issues where I've had a lot of this wireless stuff in one room, and it has all kinds of handshake and connection issues. No issues. It's a Bluetooth-enabled app. And the cool thing about the app is that you have full functionality. You can change polarity, phase, adjust your low-pass filter. I'm running it just as LFE, so I'm just running it 80 hertz down. I haven't done any room tuning, which we could certainly have and see some advantages to doing some tuning. You know, you have room gain compensation. You have the ability to go in and adjust the parametric EQ if you have some weird dead spots. If you had an RTA or a microphone or a mini DSP or something like that, you could go in and really do some calibrating. For this purpose, I'm just taking it out of the box, keeping them all the same. I don't really have a lot of expertise in room tuning or room adjusting. What I would do, you know, if I was going to keep this subwoofer in the room, like my Dynaudio subs, I have done the direct room calibration for this, which is only going to do so much for a pretty poor listening environment. But I'm telling you, I listen to the music in the garage 10x. Versus anywhere else. I even listen to music much more in the garage than I do in the car, because I spend way more time in the garage than I do in the car. So to me, spending money on fancy equipment is not wasted. You can hear a difference between a cheap speaker and a high quality speaker, and a speaker that's calibrated and one that's not. Yes, the room is killing off some of the quality of the audio that we're getting, but I think it's worth mentioning that having great audio in the garage makes sense. Now, I think the 4000. The sealed enclosure, I mean, with the grill off, it's 3 inches less deep. This is a 19.7, so it's roughly 21 inches from the wall. And I can tuck this puppy in this corner here nicely. So I think the 4000, I was thinking the 4000 wouldn't make sense, but I think the 4000 and even the 16 Ultra, which is only a couple inches deeper, with the grill taken off, can tuck and fit in a nice corner here and really fill up this room. So let's fire this sucker up. Jeez. I can already tell you I'm running this at minus 20. The other ones I was running at minus 10. So, this versus the, say, 2,000 or 3,000, I mean, you can just tell, instantly that there is a substantial difference in tightness, amplitude, output, clarity. I mean, subwoofer's hard to say it's clearer because it's low frequency, but there's just I said this a lot when I was doing the 1000 versus 2000 test. The 1000's a great subwoofer, the 1000 Pro. Both the SB1000 Pro and the PB1000 Pro, the great subwoofers, but for the money, for $600 or $800, but those subwoofers to me feel like you're just bolting on a subwoofer to generally a pretty inexpensive pair of speakers as well. And then when you go from 1000 to 2000, you gain a much more seamless woofer. The woofer's different, the amplifier's more power, and then as you kind of work your way up the line, the thing that I will say about SVS, and this is the biggest reason why I wanted to pursue these guys and to have some options, they're not mailing it in on any of these subwoofers. Like, each subwoofer is very distinct. There's a distinct difference. There's a distinct return on the money that you spend on a, say, from a 3000, the sealed 3000 to a sealed 4000. It's much bigger, much heavier, much bigger amplifier. The 4000 adds the digital display to the front here, adds XLR connections, but the 13.5-inch woofer with the bigger amplifier is is a substantial upgrade. I mean, it's a substantially different sounding subwoofer. So let's say, so what is the SB4000 was, let me look that up, 3000 was 1200 or 1100. So this one's 1800 bucks. Yeah, this one, sorry, wrong one here. SB4000 is $1,800, $1,799. If we go look at the SB3000, is 1,100 bucks. And you go from 13 to 13 and a half. You can see, I don't have the 3000 here, but you can see the sort of carbon Kevlar looking design versus a traditional dust capped, the dust capped traditional like poly subwoofer front, like the traditional, the traditional style. So this is another thing that I was looking at. If I go back to the 4000, so the SB4000, the cabin is very different. And you can see, so they call it premium black ash versus the SB16. Okay, so it is a veneer. Black oak veneer. Okay, so the 4000 series is the traditional sort of vinyl wrap style, so it's or synthetic wood versus a wood veneer, which is so one is this sort of synthetic and the other is like a real wood. So when you spend that extra 500 bucks on the SB SB or the SB16 Ultra, you can see the the enclosure difference. So let me manhandle these suckers and flip them around. I will tell you, I would highly recommend, if you're going to spend the money on one of these puppies, and we'll show you the feet of these, but that you take and swap the feet, because the feet that come on them, they're okay, but you can do much, much better. The ones they sell it, there's a package where they have an isolation feet that you can screw right into place. Look at the capacitors. There's a big old capacitors in there. I unplugged this thing 30 seconds ago and the light's still on. Yeah, all those front squats I did the other day weren't great for my lower back. All right, so I'm just for simplicity here, I'm just going into LFE, but normally here's your XLR connection that you would have. You can see it's a more substantial type. Back it up a little bit here. RCA is okay. So you hear that click in there, and then it doesn't come out. Just a better type of connection. So 16-inch driver. So what is that percentage? Moving 20% more air or something like that. Larger cabinet. But still, even with these not so deep sonic cabinets, look at that. I could tuck that sucker right up in there. I could put it right next to the cabinet. Just keep it, bring it off an inch or so. That certainly would work here. It looks cool. And these things are pretty indestructible. I mean, I guess you could tear the surround if you hit it with something, but this oak veneer isn't going to scratch up as long as you care for it properly. You can get your fingerprints off of it after you get it put into place. But the other thing I love about the app is I don't have to mess with any of the buttons at all. I can just do it right on the app and the controller. All right, so let's hit play. run it more like down here, like minus 23 or so. I think the thing that comes to mind here on this guy, like my initial thought when I turned it on is like, this has the ability to overpower you, or that could, to something like if you had two of those, but like this has tons of headroom. Like this is like dim the lights, shake the lights, shake the cabinets in a different fashion, a different way. Frequency response of all of these is within 5 hertz. They're gonna mostly, like these are gonna play down to say 15, 16, 18 hertz, something like that. But in this compact little box, $500, there's $500 difference here for sure. But again, I think to even net any real result, you need some serious equipment to complement this. You need some big speakers that have lots of output capability. You need a big amplifier and a great set of floor standers, or a really substantial set of bookshelves. Even then, I just don't think that I would go here. A set of Core 59s, this could complement really well. Again, I just don't think it's necessary to go to this unless you have a really big room with a really big home theater. I think that the 4000 to me seems like more practical choice. Like that was more bass than I need in this room here, and I don't hear any real tonal differences between the two. This is just sheer, to me, the first thing that comes to mind. I'm sure there's some differences, but the thing that comes to mind is just sheer amplitude, having a 16-inch driver. So for the fun of it, let's power up these bad boys. Let's put the big boy in here. I gotta break my back to get into place. I already know what I'm gonna hear, which is just a little bit less directionality, a little bit more room filling, a little bit more space or size and scale that you get from the ported enclosure. And generally in a home theater, a ported enclosure is more preferential. I'm just not hearing the things that I used to hear. It was always the old simple adage: if you wanted tight, clean bass, you go sealed. If you wanted more amplitude and output, you go ported. But with the modern amplifiers and their ability to control the woofer and spider and piston designs, magnet designs, cone designs of modern subwoofers, the differences become a little less apparent. Like you could take a ported sub and still have it be pretty musical. But the old adage was ported for home theater, sealed for music. But I don't think that holds true anymore as much. There's some of that, but I don't think it holds up. I'm starting to think these sealed ones are making me second guess my choice here. I love this subwoofer, but that subwoofer's $4,000. Just pull these. 125, something. Yeah, 124 and change, something like that. So this one these are 20 pounds apart. The PB4000, yeah, 152, and this is 152 and change. This is 175 or something, so about 20 pounds difference. All right. But in my garage here, or pretty much any garage, not really gonna work very well. Even in my home theater, this wouldn't work in my home theater. It's just too big. But again, I tried that. I had a JTR 4000 ULF before. It was 4 times the size of this thing, and it was this tall and that wide, and 2 18-inch woofers and giant port. It was incredible, but I've kind of grown out of that. I tried that. So I'll take the grill off. Get the grill off here. This woofer almost looks puny in this thing. Look at that. It's 3-4 inch ports. Never buy piano black, I'm telling you. This has scratched the crap. We've only moved it a couple of times. I can come back a little bit, but yeah. See that? 5 seconds connected. Let's start at minus 24. I figured it out, Chris. Here's the difference. Sealed hits me in the chest. Ported hits my whole body. Like hits me in the brain, hits me in the chest, hits me in the balls, hits me in the feet. It's just that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you hear that? That's what I'm hearing. Ported hits my whole body. So if you're building your home theater, if you're building your garage, if you're designing the room, design it for one of these. You know, design it for 2 of these. That's what I would do. Set up the room, find a place. The thing that's tricky with subwoofers, you pick the wrong place, you can end up with some issues. I'm sure you can do some math to figure that out. But if you're building the room, figure out a way to make these work. If you're building your home theater, figure out a way to make this sucker go in it. And I think, you know, unless you're going to spend more money, you know, if you're going to go to like, and the only thing I would choose over this 16 Ultra, which we're going to play here in a second, would be a JTR sub. But you know, JTR is going to be much bigger. The fit and finish of JTR is nothing like this. It's much more, you know, sort of homemade looking. But yeah, I mean, I didn't design this garage around my subwoofer, and so these subs aren't really practical for me to have in here. I'm sure I can make it work, but I had set this garage up with the core subwoofers in mind, and set it up very focused on where my cabinets were going to go, not where my subwoofer was going to go. All right, so let's cut away and let me hoist this thing into position. All right, 175 pounds. 1,500 watts. Yeah, I mean, the difference 4,000 of Ultra is has the ability to hurt you, right? Has the ability to cause bodily harm versus, you know, not you know, close, but not quite the same kind of carnage is created by the 4,000 as the big old 16. And then most people, they buy 2 of them. You know, you put 2 of them in your home theater and it's just destroy. So the 28-year-old Matt or even 32-year-old Matt, I would be like drooling. I'd be, you know, moving heaven and earth to fit that sucker somewhere. I'm more of a, you know, now I would want like an SB4000. But if you can swing, you know, $2,900, $2,900 for that is a marvel. I mean, that is a $5,000 or $7,000 subwoofer all day from, you know, many other brands. You look at Rel and you look at some others. The performance of this, I'm not sure how these measure in comparison. I don't really care much about that kind of stuff. I'm a sucker for brands. I'm a sucker for fit and finish. I think that this stacks up really, really well against other subwoofers, even from, you know, measurements. I should probably do a little digging into that, but I know there's a lot of, you know, home theater nerds that really dig into the details of that stuff. and you know, the Seton Submersives and the JTRs, those guys, you know, their amplifiers are much more robust than these. But you know, again, those are $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 subwoofers at times, and they don't have the fit and finish that these do. The level of engineering that's gone into how these are manufactured. Yes, they're made in China, but they're clearly built to spec. I haven't found a flaw in any of the 20 some odd subwoofers I opened up from them thus far. The only flaws are from me moving them around and dragging them across this building here. So, yeah, I think the conclusion here is that you know, if you're going to build your room around a subwoofer, then you do one of these ported ones. The porteds hit your whole body. The sealed hit you in the chest, and I think that. I think in almost all instances, I'd rather have 2 subwoofers than 1, even if their amplitude is turned down. I'd love to have 2 of them. You generally want to have, if you're going to have 2 subwoofers in your home theater, you want them inside the front stage. So you want them inside of your left and right speaker, and you want them to, you know, obviously be in phase. Putting in the back of the room creates a whole myriad of problems that you really have to do a lot of room tuning to get figured out. So I think for most, you know, garages, home theaters, like if I was going to choose an SVS subwoofer to put in my home theater, I think I would choose the SB4000. Like at my level of home theater, I've got a, I don't know, $100,000 home theater, $75,000 home theater, something like that. That level of theater, I don't even think I would do the Ultra. I think I'd just do the 4000s. Right now I have 2 Dynaudio subwoofers in there now, but this is making me want to maybe pull those out, and just that these are much more fun than something boring like that Core Sub or the Sub 6 from Dynaudio that I like so much. So anyway, that's the SVS line. I do need to make a video on the Micro 3000, which I'll do separately. I actually sold mine, so I need to get another one to open up. I need to open up a white one anyway. So the Micro 3000 is another cool little subwoofer that I'm going to bring in, and I'll do a video separately on that. I'm going to do a video on the isolation feet, and I'll do a video on doing things wirelessly. I'm going to actually set up here now. I'm going to do a how to clean piano black and how to polish piano black when you inevitably scratch it, and then maybe put something on to make it a little slicker. So anyway, thanks for watching. Go to obsessedgarage.com. I know you can buy these subwoofers at many different places, including SVS Direct. It's super helpful if you buy it from us. I know many of you don't care about that, but I know some of you do. You know, if you found some of my information helpful, or you like what we're doing here, it's super helpful if you buy these things from us. But we should have these in stock. The big boys, I think we're probably going to special order, because I basically don't make any money because you got to ship on a pallet to you. The other ones we'll probably have here in stock, and we'll ship out, you know, right from HQ. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and I appreciate your support. See you in the next one.